Greetings, YouTube. Evil Tomato here. I'm glad to see you all here. Glad to see you're back. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough topic because of the political discourse going on right now. For those of y'all who saw, our good old former president is back to saying some bullshit that is not true. That's been debunked to hell by content creators, so I'm not going to touch that one. See a video from Vosh, Xander Hall, and all that. But the other day, I was scrolling on Twitter, and you know, as one does scroll on Twitter, good old OT has posted some stuff at prageru because they're mad about men wearing dresses, because heaven forbid if you're not heteronormative. So I just went to see what prageru's been up to. Need something to react to, need some views. You freaking know how it is. So I hop on their page and I come to this gym. And today you guys get a double feature because we get to react to prageru and mattwalsh in the same sitting. So sit back, go and grab your foodage and drinks, grab your vice of choice. I do not judge on this channel, and let's dive into it. And don't forget to hit that little subscribe button down below. And make sure to turn on all notifications to stay tuned to whenever I upload. I'm trying to get back to at least one a week, maybe two. We'll see, but without further ado, intro and plugs all out the way, let's get into it. And here we go, everyone. Let's get into this happy horse shit.
What is the truth? It seems like every day that question gets harder for our society to answer.
For one, truth is objectionable, and just because you have a certain viewpoint does not mean someone else's view on how the world and how it should be is not a objective truth. Can we get past the part where you are so self-righteous that your limited Christian heteronormative view is the only way, when Christianity has not even been an official religion for that long? There are many other religions that have came and gone, and eventually the same will happen to Christianity. It's a good set of principles to base your life around, but it's not the only way.
The objective truths we relied on for thousands of years to inform our decisions and live our lives have recently been questioned into obscurity. We are now facing the consequences. Questions like, what is a woman?
Oh God, they have to always try this old one. What is a woman? Define a woman. Right now, conservatives are super pissed right now because I think Webster's dictionary changed the definitions of words, and that makes small brain people very upset because they might have to learn something, which I'm all for knowledge. I believe the more educated people are, the better the world is. Some people don't agree with that, so let's hear their take. I'm gonna call sus and BS right off the bat, and who knows, maybe prageru will prove me wrong, but I doubt it.
And is sex biological? May seem innocuous, but the real world...
Yes, sex is biological, but there is also this thing called gender. They are two separate things. Sex is your biological parts. Gender is what's in your brain.
Implications have been devastating. In 2022, vulnerable and impressionable children are being chemically castrated.
No, that is not happening. You can look up in any state. That is not a thing. the most a minor can do, and I've beaten this horse till it's dead, but for these people to learn something, we have to keep on with it. The most a kid can do is socially transition and get counseling. I have a member of my family who is a young trans person. The most they can do is change their name, change their pronouns, change the way they dress, which are all reversible until the age of 18. I'm tired of them trotting out this old dead lie of, oh, think of the children. What are they doing to them? If you actually took some time and went to some of these places, you could actually see it's counseling, helping them and their parents come to terms. And sometimes the kid is not trans and they're just go on living normal life. They are trans, they're already in the program seeking the help to understand their gender identity and get whatever steps they need when they become 18. Not little kids. There is no kids getting mutilated, but nice try.
And surgically mutilated in the name of tolerance and gender-affirming care. In some cases, parents who object to this radical ideology are being punished by the law.
No, they're not. They should be, but no parent is getting punished by the law for not affirming their kid's gender. But when that kid turns 18, they're most likely going to go poof, just if that kid does not end up hurting himself beforehand, because the stats are 51% of trans youth will attempt self-harm if they are not in a affirming household. But, if the parents actually gave a fuck about their kids, that number goes down dramatically. It's almost like if you don't neglect your kid, they're not going to want to hurt themselves. But what do I know?
Now more than ever, our society is confused. Thankfully, in the midst of this confusion, there are several voices who are waking people up to the reality of the situation.
No, we're not confused. We actually believe and listen to science. But, you look like the type that probably made a big fuss about face masks and a COVID shot, So, not too many brain cells floating around up there, I don't think.
And fighting for objective truth. One of those voices is Matt Walsh.
Oh, got Mr. Matt Walsh. Mr. I should be able to have sex with a minor and marry her if I get her pregnant, Like, I would pay some good money for him to shave his beard because I just want to see his chin, and I have a feeling it's like a wee chin. But that's just me.
He's bringing clarity back to the public with his new documentary, What is a Woman? I recently traveled to UC Berkeley to catch a screening of this new documentary to see what the hype was all about. Following the screening, I had the privilege of speaking with Matt about the film and his ongoing fight for the truth. This is that interview.
Ongoing fight for the truth? Oh, fuck.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does.
Okay, I was gonna skip this ad, but holy shit, they have a search engine for conservatives. We're gonna get a little bonus here. We gotta check it out, everybody. Like, no freaking way.
First of all, big tech right now is run by a bunch of elitist people who all happen to vote the same way and who all happen to live in huge cities on the West Coast. And so,
Okay. For one, we're already starting out with some gold here. We got, big tech is trying to silence us, and because they live in bigger cities and are more educated, they are bad.
Result Hunter takes those elitist values and elitist sources and kind of pushes them down a little bit in the search engine. Meanwhile, it takes those sources of truth that we believe have been deranked a little bit by Google.
Okay, so essentially, it's going to filter your search results so you get all the QAnon crazy stuff at top and then factual information at the very bottom. Oh, that's terrible.
Google, and it pushes those up a bit. And the main thing that you'll gain from using the search engine is that your ad revenue that you generate by going all over the web will be much more likely to support conservatives and things that support conservative values rather than things that support elitist and liberal cultural values.
No, that would be wrong just because it all goes through the same engine for ad revenue called Google, so good job.
So thank you. Please use resulthunter.com if you're a conservative. Hit try now to go over there, and it'll become your default when you hit add to browser. And
Fake news. Okay. We're done making fun of the conservative search engine, but
Matt, your documentary, What is a Woman, is going viral. It's very eye-opening, and I just want to thank...
And do you know one of the reasons why it went viral? Because he paid to have it on Google ads on YouTube. So when you pump out enough ads to enough dumb people, of course some people are gonna watch it. It's been debunked all to hell, and oh my god, there was some gold, some very unique editing to make it all seem like Matt was right.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down with us and to talk a little bit more about it. The first question I want to ask is, what was your favorite part of filming this documentary?
It's hard to even say a favorite, because even the parts that you kind of enjoy, there was an element to it that made it sort of sad and disturbing. So I would say going to Africa was, just an experience that I'll probably never duplicate in my life. And
Oh yeah, he got like super owned by by a gender specialist. So he had to go to Africa to this tribe in the middle of nowhere that has no technology, no like real education or anything to get someone to agree with him, and it was great.
not just like, I might visit the continent again, but going there and being in a position to actually introduce these kinds of ideas to people that have no framework for them whatsoever, just from kind of an anthropological perspective, was very, very interesting. So I'd say that was the favorite part. But it was also quite just sad to see how our culture is viewed, elsewhere in the world, and they view it accurately as sort of a, insane mess.
That part of the film...
Yeah, and also if you would have gone back in time and told other periods of time about our culture, they would also say we're a sane mess. Just the same as if a culture came to us from a further period in the, 50 to 100 years in the future, they would not recognize what we are doing, and we would be an insane mess to them. So it's really not the big gotcha that you thought it was, Matty boy.
Film really was eye-opening for me. You go into this culture, this place that isn't, quote unquote, as advanced as we are, but for some reason they still have a better grasp of identity and of gender roles.
No, they don't. They have a firm grasp on biological sex, but the concept of gender is unfounded to them because they have known no knowledge of the experience.
Why do you think that is? Have we advanced too much? Have we gotten too progressive?
Oh, we've gotten too smart. Oh no. We have to dumb ourselves down so we're like these other people.
I mean, yeah, you could call it progressive. It's progressive in the same. I think of American progressivism. It's progress in the same way that cancer progresses. Like it eats.
Oh, so being accepting of your fellow human being and not wanting to hurt each other is like a cancer. Do you. Ow. Hold up, everybody. I think I need to smoke real quick. Like, oh my god. This hurts my brain.
It's away and destroys. And so we certainly have that problem here more than they have in other parts of the world. But also, gender ideology itself is a Western invention that was invented.
Actually, no, Matt, you would be wrong about that. The concept of gender has been in many different cultures, and there's a prime example in our world. The Hawaiian people believe in two spirit people. There was a third gender people in many Native American tribes. And it's all been documented all throughout history. We know that there's more than two genders, but I guess like wire A and wire B that are supposed to connect here just don't with this guy. I don't know. My brain seriously hurts.
In our, not just in the United States, but in the West. And it has been exported, to other parts of the world, but hasn't made it to some of these parts that are more insulated, perhaps because they don't have as much technology. But I also think they have other built-in defenses, like just their society is built around, to use the term that people would use in our country, it's a very gendered society, like the Maasai tribe. You're a man or you're a woman, and depending on if you're a man or a woman, it determines what you do,
So you're saying misogyny and hegemony is what you're saying, that the roles are this way, and if you go against that norm, bad stuff's gonna happen, so no one goes against that norm because they will probably, I don't know, probably get stoned to death like back in biblical days that you love so much. Oh, I get it. His problem, he can't stone queer people. That's why Matt's upset. Jeez.
the role is. And so they don't spend a lot of time like sort of navel gazing and wondering about their gender. They just live it every day. And it's almost, that's why when I first asked them the question, like, what's a woman? They were confused by the question, not because they couldn't answer, but because it was so obvious that they couldn't understand why I'd even ask in the first place, because they just have a totally different framework.
I think the success of this film, I think, really points to the hunger that people are having for clarity. And
Yes, I will say probably a little bit of his traction on this film was, people wondering about it because you hear more and more about queer and gender non-conforming people nowadays. We have more exposure, and the more exposure you have to something that's foreign to you, the more comfortable you are around that thing. That's why right now they're trying to ban queer people from public space, because they know the fact that society sees us now and like, hey, we freaking exist, is making society more okay, cool. You just happen to be, you are you and you live your life, you don't hurt no one, and everything is fine. But these people don't want us to be seen because, maybe they got some suppressed homosexuality in there. Just saying, maybe.
just acknowledgement of objective truth and reality. But why is that? Why is there a market for that? How have we gotten to the point where objective truth has been denied?
Because science has come out with new information about the validity of trans people, non-binary people, so, and people that actually have a brain can say, oh, okay, they exist.
And we've just done nothing about it. How did this happen in our sleep? Did this happen?
No, it seems like it happened in our sleep because at least when it comes to the gender stuff, I think for a lot of people you have the perception that everything was kind of normal, and then we woke up one day 5 years ago or 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was, and
No, we've always been here. You guys have always eradicated us. And, a lot of people for the longest time being gay was illegal, so most gay people stayed in the closet. For the longest time, being trans was considered a mental illness. Do you think people are going to boast about that? Do you hear your average family boasting about their, crazy relative all the time? No, that doesn't happen. But the more that science has looked into gender and seen, oh, okay, this is just this, and and now that we understand this has a name, and more people understand, oh, I feel that way, and I can go through these steps to be truly happy in my own skin and not want to die every day. And then here comes good old white Christian nationalism. It's like, no, you can't exist. And it's quite depressing. I'm not gonna lie, everybody. I'm scared, but moving on.
Bruce Jenner's Caitlyn Jenner, and suddenly men can be women and women can be men. It seems like it was overnight, but as we try to flesh out in the film, this was a process that took, certainly you could trace it back decades. You could even go back farther than that if you want. It kind of depends on where you want to start. But it was, it infiltrated.
A lot of the information on gender studies started around a little bit before World War II. But all that information was destroyed by the Nazis. And, aren't there people right now banning and burning queer books? Seems like history is about to repeat itself. Like, I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, so yeah.
Society through institutions kind of out of sight for a lot of people until one day, in effect, it sort of exploded onto the mainstream. But it was really, this is the result of a long, considered and deliberate process.
One quote that sticks with me, especially when I think about these subjects, the left's radical gender ideology, is from John Stuart Mill. It says, "The only thing for the necessity of the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." And as a Catholic, I think, and I know you're a Catholic, I think of the church's role in doing nothing, or maybe our religious institution.
Hey, you cannot do nothing because there's this lovely thing that you guys love to forget in the United States, and it is separation of church and state. It doesn't mean much anymore because they're really mixing the lines and using their religious views to dictate policy. But in the way the system was made up, it was supposed to be where your religious views could not come into play when it came to government decisions. That's not happening anymore. But these were put in place, and I can guess by the way you look and your hair, you're probably one of those that probably marched with Trump.
More broadly speaking, doing nothing. How much of the blame should we be putting on our religious institutions on letting this ideology take such a strong foothold in our society? And what role do you think they have in taking it back and drawing the line and reclaiming our culture?
as a Catholic myself, I'd give the Christian Church 100% of the blame for completely failing in its own duty and responsibility to protect our culture from this kind of thing, and to be a light of truth and clarity and moral decency. And I think it's just been an abject, total failure and abdication of their responsibilities. And there are exceptions. I mean, there are, as a Catholic, of course, I know that there are a lot of really good priests out there. I think especially the younger, even now I'm encouraged by some of the younger kind of crop of priests tend to be, to my view, much firmer, I guess we would say more conservative than the older kind of boomer priests. So there are some hopeful trends, but generally speaking, I think if you are a Catholic, then you believe that the Catholic Church plays an essential, pivotal role in the culture. And so if our culture is sliding into oblivion, then you can't deny.
It's maybe because religions shouldn't control people. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't have something to believe in. Like, if that's your cup of tea, cool. But as my friend put it, having a religion's a lot like having parts downstairs. It's cool to have them. It's cool to be proud that you have X thing. Yay, I'm a man and I'm happy. But don't whip it out and don't try to shove it down people's throat. Please, don't shove your religion down someone's throat, because that is very offensive to other people that believe in a different religion or none at all. And you should just let people be fucking people. Oh my God.
Deny the failure on the part of the church.
Couldn't agree more. I want to get your reaction while we're here in San Francisco of Mayor Breed's new guaranteed income program that's giving up to $1,200 for up to 18 months for low-income transgenders in the city.
Okay, before we even hear this dude's little rebuttal, I personally believe that is a good thing. Do you know, as a trans person, how hard it is to find employment, a place to live, and all that? It sucks so bad. Like, there's a few companies, it's getting better, but I've gone to job interviews, and because I was, I had to let them know, hey, I need time off because I gotta do labs and all that because I'm trans. And as soon as that popped up, nope, we don't need help. So someone actually trying to look out for trans people, that is actually nice. It makes me feel good. But of course, these two little cucks are going to circle jerk about how, oh no, you can't help out the transes.
And the claim, they say, is that the transgenders here are marginalized, I guess, at a higher rate than other groups. And it's confusing to me. Are we really supposed to believe that in San Francisco, one of the most progressive, LGBTQ-friendly cities in the country, that they are being marginalized at a higher rate than...
Yes, every year, hundreds, if not thousands of trans people worldwide are hate crimed and killed. You can be as small as, nice being called names or being refused service at a place to having stuff thrown at you or attacked just for existing. But no, there's not they're not marginalized at all.
In other groups, or is there something else that we're missing?
Yeah, no, it's the unfalsifiable nature of the claims that are made about systemic, whether it's transphobia or systemic racism or whatever. It becomes
Systemic racism. Yes, they both are real. Transphobia and systemic racism are a thing in America that need to change. But people like him go with the old white person saying, well, they shouldn't have been doing a crime. But what happens when there are laws that get put into place that make that person's existence a crime? So far, I think 5 different states now have passed laws to where being trans in public is a crime. One state with a 5-year sentence and $120,000 in freaking fines just for being trans or queer and existing. And that's not transphobia. There's not a systemic problem.
It's unfalsifiable because what you find out is that no matter what happens, like there's nothing that can happen that will make the left say, okay, yeah, you know what, it's actually fine. Transphobia, we solved transphobia. It's not.
Yes, there's stuff that could happen, but people like you are too stubborn to actually do some research and look past your closed-minded views to fix these problems.
Not that much of a problem anymore. Or systemic racism isn't that much of a problem anymore. No matter what happens, they will tell you that it's just as bad as it's ever been. You know, it's like systemic racism.
No, a few years ago, things were getting better. And then some things happened and we backslided majorly. And then we're back to where we were before. I'm not trying to fearmonger here. I'm really not. But we are getting close to Stonewall again. We are doing this civil rights fight all over again, and it just saddens me because yeah, we've done, history just keeps on repeating itself.
It's according to them, it's as bad as it was like during the Civil War now, even after we had a black president. So what that tells us is that it's an unfalsifiable theory, and they're going to cling to it, the narrative, no matter what happens. Although, you know, I am encouraged by the fact that in San Francisco, you know, you can fill in whatever gender you want and be given the income, but you have to be a San Francisco resident. So I'm wondering if I could say that my gender is San Francisco resident, right, they'll give me the income.
Ha 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 ha. Oh, really, straight people, get some new jokes, please. It's the I identify as X joke. You know, the I identify as attack helicopter. And bitch, I identify as a rocket launcher. Try me.
Well, I mean, I read a report this morning that said there was a 3,000% increase in self-identified trans in San Francisco. I don't know if there's any correlation.
Let's not get spiritual.
Okay, let's just take a look back at some things in society. Okay, at one time you were beat, if not killed, for being left-handed. The world progressed a little bit, and the social stigma of being left-handed went away. More people started using their left dominant hand and all that, like I'm left-handed. And at first, it seems like it went way up, and then it plateaued to where it's always been. The same thing with trans people. We've always been here. It's just society has been set up in a way where we could not come out and live our authentic life without threats of harm and killing us. That, you know, if you guys would just calm your pants, sit the fuck down, boomer, and just let things play, you'll see that in a few years, if the world became accepting enough, it would all level out. But we can't do that because that would take having more than 2 brain cells.
Territorial.
Who knows? Come on, who knows? Another thing I want to get your reaction on, or maybe just your thoughts on, is how this left-wing gender ideology is affecting our young boys. I think obviously this film touches on the young girls and the women in our country, but I think now in our society, young men are at a crisis point in their identity, in their faith, in their morality. Sperm counts are at the lowest they've ever been. Church membership among men is down 20% in the last 20 years. How do young men fit into this picture, and how are they being affected by this left-wing radical gender ideology?
Well, yeah, there's a war on masculinity, and
Okay, the war on masculinity. I don't think haven't you checked? Last time, society views being a man better than being a woman. That's just how our society is set up. Unfortunately, we are fighting to change that, but that's what it's at right now. And I love this. Oh, we are, there's a war on masculinity, and no, there is not a war on masculinity. There is a war on toxic masculinity. We don't mind you being masculine. I love masculine people. They are amazing. But when you're toxic with it, especially with this guy right here who has all these outdated opinions about women and all that, that's what we don't want. It's cool to be masculine, my dude, but we don't want you to tell a woman what her place is and all that. We don't want you to hate and ridicule someone who was born like you but is a little more feminine. That's what we want. Jeez.
It's not all that surprising that when the message from the culture is that men are, toxic, masculinity is a toxic thing that you have to reject, and all we get is this kind of denigration and the demonization and scapegoating of men, and then you find a whole bunch of boys who say, you know what, I don't think I want to be a boy anymore.
That's because 99% of bad shit in this world is caused by men. It's not scapegoating you, it's just the freaking truth.
I don't think that also is not a coincidence. It is also interesting that when it comes to the transgender phenomenon, certainly for right now, for adolescents who fall into it, the vast majority are girls. But it seems like, I don't have the numbers for this, but
He no longer has numbers because I think it was a couple weeks ago, this dude got fact checked on Joe Rogan's podcast. Apparently Spotify freaking made Rogan fact check this dude, and he was like completely wrong, caught bold-faced lying his ass off. Oh, you don't have any fake numbers for us to debunk today, buddy. Damn it! Like I think he's caught on to all of us, where it's just like, yeah, they finna fact check my ass, and it's not gonna be good.
just based anecdotally on the younger children who are presented as transgender. When you hear about a young 5-year-old who's being paraded around as the next child trans hero, they're almost always boys. So it seems like if we're hearing about a 6-year-old trans child, which doesn't really exist, it's most likely
Trans children don't really exist. Good one. That's a little thing we call whitewashing.
we're gonna be a boy. 14-year-old trans child, most likely a girl, which is an interesting phenomenon too. I'm not exactly
Do you have a source? Can we get one, please?
sure how to explain that all the way, but it is interesting.
How important is the language that we use around the gender ideology? I personally try to refrain from using the word trans and say that it's a man pretending to be a woman or the other.
Here we go again. Oh, they're scared of words and pronouns. Everyone has freaking pronouns, you dumbass. But, because they believe if they don't acknowledge trans people, that will just, go away.
The other way around. Is that something you think is effective in not acknowledging and not using?
Yeah, I think it's difficult because you want people to understand what you're talking about. So that's why it can be easy to lapse into using some of these terms. I mean, even the term, just forget about trans, the term gender itself, really we shouldn't be using it, because gender as a, the idea that a person has a gender is an invention of the gender ideologues. It's gender and gender identity go hand in hand. The same people who came up with gender identity came up with the idea that people have a gender, when really people don't have a gender, people have sex. So we
Can we just force him to take some advanced biology, please? I think most of this can be solved with an advanced biology class. American schools, do better.
we shouldn't even be talking about gender, but it's just like it's easy to lapse into it in a kind of, if you're not being precise in your language, and also just because, again, you want people to understand what you're talking about. But I do think we need to be careful about that and start thinking a lot more about the words that we're using, and are we surrendering the argument before we can even make it, just based purely on the language that we've chosen to use.
Who are the people that are benefiting most from this movement?
Yeah, I think every institution is finding a way to exploit, manipulate, and profit off of this in some way.
Oh yeah, we can't forget. All the medical industries are profiting off of the trans panic. Oh my god, really? You really believe that? Okay. Um, Yet again, where's your proof?
But it's easy to see how in the medical, the pharmaceutical industry, that this is worth billions of dollars to them.
So is every other part of the medical industry. Insulin, psychological health care. People get sick and have problems that needs to be fixed. So you're going to demonize a group of people and all the doctors because they are helping people live better lives. Oh my god. Weak ass.
The plastic surgeons, the endocrinologists who have now gotten into the hormone game. There are endocrinology clinics that use.
Hormones are also used for cis people, my dude. Like, I have a family member he is a cis male, has low T. He is on HRT. Puberty blockers are used in cis kids who have precocious puberty. I can't speak today. So, no, it's just now you're mad that, oh, they're using it to help trans people, so we can't have that. Yeah.
Used to be endocrinology clinics, and now all they do is give out hormone treatments. So, yeah, I think all of these groups have stood to gain money-wise quite a bit, and they are.
Something that I found when I was reporting on the child drag shows throughout the country, but more specifically in Texas, is I would record this footage of children in bars, putting dollar bills in grown man's underwear. And
Yet again, can I see some evidence, please? They would be great. Like, you can say shit all you want, but until I see some proof that this is happening, no.
And the responses I got was, isn't this already illegal? Why are children already allowed in bars? And I feel like I've seen similar comments about your film that is
Because those type of shows usually aren't at bars, my dude. And when it comes to family friendly drag shows, these performers have on more clothes than most cheerleaders at football games or when you take your kid to Hooters. Because those are the two things you guys seem to care the most about. And yeah, but it's yet again the war on clothes, what you can and can't wear, and I'm just like, oh my god.
isn't it already illegal to give hormone blockers to 6, 7, 8-year-olds?
No, it is not, because there are kids who have precocious puberty.
Isn't it already illegal to do surgery on these adolescents? Are there actual laws on the books that are preventing this? And if so, how are they getting away with it?
Well, when it comes to the gender transitions for minors, there are, we are working on passing a law in Tennessee.
They're only social transitions, Matt. Socially. No kid is getting surgery, is getting gender affirming surgery under the age of 18.
A couple other states that have passed laws. Some of those are now hung up in the courts. So there are a few states where the laws are on the books, but most states they're not. And the reason why in many cases there's no law there is exactly the problem you're talking about, that people just assume that it's already illegal. And but it's not, and bringing a child to, I mean, we're also working on a law in Tennessee. There's going to be a law that's passed that makes that illegal as well, to bring a child to a drag show. It should already be illegal, and if you interpret the laws that are on the books correctly, then they would be. Like, this is sexual abuse, and sexual abuse of a child is already illegal.
Oh yeah, I forgot. All queer people are inherently sexual, everybody. Like, just us existing is sexual. What the hell, dude?
Not being applied that way, which is why separate law, they shouldn't need to be passed, but separate laws do need to be passed. But in order to get a movement towards these laws being passed, you need people to understand that this is happening, that it is being allowed to happen, and that it is a problem. So you got to raise that awareness. And once you do, then most people, intuitively understand why this stuff is horrifically evil.
all this does is make me think back to the whole 1980s and the satanic panic and oh no, Dungeons and Dragons turns kids satanic and they'll sacrifice goats and stuff. It's like they seriously repeat the same outrage every 20 to 30 years because they have nothing else to do. Like, dude, get a life. I know I'm just a VTuber on the internet and all that, but damn, get a life, dude. Be happy.
Yeah, no, you talk about some of the laws that you're trying to pass. A lot of the detransitioners that I talk to almost every time talk about how their statute of limitations has passed and they're
Okay, let's dive into this lovely thing called detransitioners. The right wing always loves to tout these people out. And some people do transition for the wrong reason. That happens. But 95% of all detransitioners are either they cannot afford to transition anymore or the societal backlash to them transitioning put their life in danger. So they detransition. This is why we have safeguards in play where you must go through so much counseling, live so much as your true gender before you can start HRT, or better known as medical transition. But we never want to talk about that. We want to talk about this 0.5% of a community. There is a 0.5% regret on trans affirming care. You know what the regret for a lot of other surgeries is? 35 to 50%. But, you know, it's bad. Trans people.
unable to seek, any type of legal retribution from these surgeons for malpractice or for counseling them the wrong.
Because they were informed. A lot of trans healthcare goes off of informed consent. Before I started HRT, I knew everything that was going to happen, pros and cons. So don't give me that wino BS about, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know if I went on T, I could go bald. Yes, you did, fool. Quit lying. Don't make me tap the sign.
Wrong direction. Are you aware of any efforts to establish statutes of limitations specifically for gender?
Yeah, Tennessee.
surgeries?
That's what we're doing in Tennessee. Okay. That's part of the law, is allowing children who are mutilated to sue their medical providers and their parents too, if their parents played a role in this, for up to, I think the law says up to 20 years. But again, yeah, in most cases, these people who detransition are not able to seek retribution or compensation. The law doesn't allow it, so laws have to be changed to allow it.
Matt, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Okay, everybody, we have came to the end. Oh my god, my freaking brain hurts. Thank you all for stopping by. We will have this one up on YouTube soonish, and if you enjoy, make sure to hit the like button down below. Leave a comment. If you're not already subscribed, hit that little sub button. And I will catch you guys next time. The right do some dumb shit. Peace.